to this week's Cats Whiskers TV. Unfortunately, Aaron won't be with us tonight, so his role will be taken by Andy Haywood, who joins us to look back at the Continental Cup weekend. We'll also be looking back at all the other Elite League games. Our hot topic this week is referees. Do they receive too much unfair criticism? And to finish off, we'll be looking ahead to all the games in the Elite League this coming weekend. But first, there was a big tournament going on next door. I'm sure you all know what it was. Flavour of what went on at the weekend. I'd like to say welcome to Andy, who, as I said earlier, is replacing Aaron, and of course Paul, who is here as always. So, the Continental Cup. From my point of view, great weekend.
You were saying that Friday night.
I wasn't saying that Friday night. Well, what shall we cover off Friday night first?
Was anybody?
Friday was... Well, we got all extremes, didn't we, in the whole weekend, because Friday night was dreadful game. Absolutely awful.
Yes.
I can't really explain how bad the Panthers were. You really had to be there to see how bad they were.
I think if we'd have been playing anybody else, there's a very good chance we would have lost. And I don't just mean the other teams on the weekend.
Definitely.
Anybody the pause aren't long enough in between.
Have you been influenced by a certain interview you may have heard?
No.
If you haven't heard the interview after the game, Owen Bradley, look on his Twitter at Owen Bradley, there is an audio interview with Corey Nielsen that was done after the game on Friday. You can actually feel how seething Corey Nielsen is through the audio. And I felt sorry for Owen because it was probably the most awkward interview he will have ever had to have done in his radio career.
Yeah, absolutely. It can't have been easy for him. But I like the brutality of it,
No,
the honesty
yeah.
and everything. And to be fair, it obviously worked because we were tenfold better on Saturday, and we were even better than that. Yeah,
Sunday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that shows a coach who really cares. I mean, he was fuming. It was pretty obvious he was fuming.
We can laugh about it now.
Yeah, but it wasn't funny at the time. No. But I think we also have to pay a lot of credit to Bipolo, the Spanish team. Bipolo, or whatever, Bipolo. Anyway,
Victoria.
Yes, Victoria, that's better. Yeah, this is the Spanish team. Yeah, there's the flag. There's the flag right behind Paul. I think a lot of people, me included, expect them to be whipping boys, and they were just really there to make up the numbers. And in the end, they did themselves, and the players, they did themselves absolute credit to the tournament because they were very, very difficult.
Well, my opinion, and I'm sure 90% of Panthers fans and probably UK fans across the league, when it was announced that the Spanish team were coming on Thursday, they were coming across, my initial response was Spain. They play ice hockey, but they were genuinely superb, and they played. They lacked talent, but what they didn't lack was heart and desire, and they played a scrappy game, and they showed decent skill on things like the power play when we got the man advantage. Scored, I think the majority of their goals they scored this weekend were on the power play. But they were scrappy. But like I say, you can have all the talent in the world, and God knows as a Panthers fan we've had it. But unless you play like a team, unless you play with heart and determination, you don't go anywhere.
I mean that was the thing. They never gave up. They tried all the time. It was chaotic at times. It was. It's been awkward. They rode the luck at times, but it was just they never gave up. Even in that last game against the Hay, where you could see they were really starting to tire. I mean, they got the smallest, shortest bench, and they probably. I don't know how many games they played this season, but I know it's not that many.
I think 15 is their regular league season, so it's not many.
3 days, they're not really used to that, and it started to show. But I think they won the hearts and minds of everybody.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. I mean, looking at the very first game of the competition, Riga against The Hague, I found that very interesting because that was the level I was wanting to see how good Riga were, and they were a good side because they sort of were patient. It was a pretty even game, and then all of a sudden they put their foot on the gas and just took it away from The Hague.
Absolutely. From the very start, if you looked at the way that they warmed up throughout the full 60 minutes, they were just intense. They were fast. They were well drilled. And it was a very, very professional organisation, which is understandable when they're a feeder team for the team that they are.
I mean, it's what we were expecting, wasn't it? We knew they'd come, we knew they'd be fast, and just because they're only juniors, that was never.
No, that was
never a.
To clarify on the juniors as well, they were between 16 and 22. I think they only had 3 16-year-olds playing for them this weekend. So obviously, you hear juniors, and my first thought was that they're all going to turn up with face cages on and that, but they were young adults.
Yeah.
You know, they were all.
It's just that they're the feeder team.
Yeah.
They did probably carry their sticks a little bit high and their elbows a little bit high, but I'm sure we'll come onto that.
Yes, we will.
We will. Saturday, so we started off with Bipolo against Riga. Riga, in the end, skating out to an easy victory, but Bipolo didn't make it easy for them at all. I mean, it could have been 2-2 going into the final period had it not been for a pretty bad error by their netminder.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, to brush on what Paul said, they had the shortest bench of the weekend, whereas Riga had by far the biggest. I mean, they played the maximum of 20 skaters and 2 goalies every night. They bought 3 goalies and 31 players with them over the weekend. They were here to win.
It's almost as if it was playing Sheffield. True.
So, you know, it was one of them things you could see by the end of the second period as they were skating off how genuinely tired they looked, Bipolo. And obviously, when you get to them final minutes and you've been playing for so long, short-staffed, and you've got a team that are just constantly rolling 4 lines of hockey at you, it's always going to take its toll.
And I think that goal late in the third preyed on them as well. Because up to that point, I thought Al Kane, the netminder, had been,
he played very well.
Best players, but I think they were tiring, and I think that did prey on them, and so. It was almost a bit of a lopsided scoreline compared to the first 2 periods, a bit like the Panthers game as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Corey Nielsen got the response he wanted on Saturday night because I think Panthers. Well, I think for the whole game they really put the effort in. They skated hard all night. Just that The Hague again played a very spoiling game, and let's face it, the referee for both sides, as we said, was diabolical.
Yes, anyone who didn't see following me on Twitter over the weekend, I wasn't best pleased with the officiating on Saturday night. I'd go as far as saying it's the worst officiating display. Full stop. There was. I think describe the Francis hit because that happened right in front of you. That was directly in front of where I sat, and it was probably the worst hit I've ever seen live. I mean, you see videos of various famous hits and throughout the world, let alone over here. But to actually be there and see that right in front of where it was a sickening hit. And the guy saw nothing but numbers on the back of Francis's shirt. He had loads of time to pull out of the hit. He charged in. He was 5-6 meters behind him when he was at the boards, and he came in and his forearm went right behind Francis's head, and he actually hit the bit where the blue bit of the boards stick out head first. And to be fair, he's very lucky that there was literally nothing wrong with him.
Yeah. I mean, what got me was that it looked. I mean, the referee was the only word I could think of, but one I can't say, was mystifying.
Yeah.
In both sides, he seemed to be very picky, very interested in calling all the technical stuff. I mean, how many ice sticks calls did we see this weekend?
Lots.
Yeah. But he'd obviously. I mean, you think he was French, wasn't he?
He was French, yeah.
I think he was called Jeffrey. I don't know that much.
That's worse, isn't it?
Yeah. Jeffrey the Frenchman.
Jeffrey the Frenchman.
Apologies to any French Jeffs out there. But you're not in good company. But you know, the big hits he didn't have a clue about. I mean, that's after the Francis hit, he seemed to be more interested in stopping Lee and one of their players having a bit of a handbag scuffle than the fact that Lee Salters wanted to rip the bloke's head off.
Mm-hmm. It never looked, after the hit, although obviously we were quite clearly fuming, it never really looked like it was ever going to kick off, because I think obviously we understood the fact that, you know, the potential implications it could have on the team.
Yeah.
But he, like you say, there was just no concern for the player on the ice at all. I mean, it took well after everything had settled down, and Francis was still on the ice with Scott Poundall, and he sort of sauntered over a bit and just sort of looked down and sort of shrugged his shoulders a bit and skated off again. And yeah.
Well, I think we'll leave that one there and then move on to Sunday. Hague against Bipolo. Not a bad game for considering there was nothing riding on it apart from pride and third place. It was a very entertaining, very open, very hard fought game.
I think it was probably obviously the bias aside, when you look at all games, when you've got no real allegiance or you know, emotional ties to the Cubs when you're watching it, they can seem a bit boring and a bit dire. But I think overall that was probably the better game out of the other three that didn't involve Panthers at the weekend.
I think with games like that, you end up, you know, I'd sort of think you can actually be neutral in a game, because you end up.
You root for somebody.
And I think that's what happened in there. I mean, Bipolo had got 90% of the arena.
I think that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, to say just run out of legs, I think, in the end.
And then, of course, the best was saved till last. What a game that was. It was just a phenomenal game of hockey.
It was the best game of hockey I've seen in the arena for a long, long time.
Yeah.
To be brutally honest, I'm struggling to think of a time where it's been so intense and so just ferocious from start to finish.
Yeah. And just to get something out of the way now, what a disappointment to only see the arena half full to watch it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I expressed on Twitter this weekend that I thought ultimately the crowds were poor. They got better as the weekend went on, which is, you know, Friday night's always going to be one of them sort of ones that are people going to come, that type of thing, because it's a Friday. But I just think for overall, I think it cost me £40 to go to 6 games of ice hockey this weekend.
Yeah, and that was the thing. It was a bargain, and I'm really, really surprised that it wasn't taken up. And I know there were a lot of people said things about there's been other non-season ticket games recently, but you know, £43 to watch 6 games of hockey, different opposition as well,
Absolutely.
a bit of variety.
Yeah, but I mean, do people want that variety? Are we the ones saying that, you know, we like the variety? Are we the ones that are in the minority?
I think if this weekend's anything to go by, we probably are, because I think you said earlier in the week before the tournament, I think we're only going to really see the proper hardcore Panthers fans, and I think you were right. Yeah,
you won't get the Saturday night or let's go and spend £17 to sit and talk to the bloke next to me and drink.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean,
really understand, but there you go.
But I mean, I think what was nice to see though was there was quite a few fans came from other British clubs to come along, especially big mention to Mr. Big, the Belfast fan, who was here all weekend. Top bloke who we spoke to in here last night. Very nice guy, and I think he thoroughly enjoyed himself for 3 days. Probably a little bit too much, but well, there you go. So anyway, on to that game. Just fantastic.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the highlights, I urge you to watch it. I've seen roughly half of it before I had to come out and get down here tonight.
You could have stayed and watched the rest.
Well, yeah. But just everything. I mean, it was just a real tenacious and battling Panthers. I mean, we came out from the off and we really looked to send a message.
And the thing is, Riga, who have been playing a fast-flowing, attacking game all weekend, were just not allowed to play their natural game, or the game that they've been playing in the previous two. We just snuffed them out at every opportunity. Thought the defensive performance from Panthers last night was outstanding.
Absolutely.
I wasn't surprised at all that Chris Morey got man of the match.
No.
You know, 'cause especially when Henley had gone off injured, he lost a heck of a lot of minutes, you know, out there. But all the time it was, you know, I mean, the only goal we gave up was
the 5-on-3, yeah.
Didn't they move the puck well?
Oh, beautifully, yeah.
I watched.
I shouldn't do that with Mike. But like that, behind the back of the net, you know, just backwards and forwards.
It looks even better on the highlights.
It is. It's just superb stick handling all the way through.
But I was genuinely surprised. I mean, whether it's down to tactics and not knowing your opponent, that type of thing, I was genuinely surprised that even after after the first period, even that they, you know, it goes against the whole European hockey of fast, free-flowing, tape-to-tape passes, but if they utilise dumping it in behind our defence, you would say that 99% of their players will be able to beat our defensemen to the puck. But they weren't getting it in deep at all. They were all about gaining the blue line and looking for that pass across and trying to open us up that way. And in some respects, you can say, well, we were lucky that they never did that. But at the end of the day, we didn't give them the opportunity as well.
Yeah. And I think the crowd was into it very early on with the fights. The fights that happened it just sparked everything off.
Don't get me wrong, the fights were brilliant. I was fuming when they were going on because my initial thought was, this is exactly what they want. I mean, the Bob Wren one as well, because if you watch him, like I say again, on a
long
replay,
time after the first fight.
Matt Ryan's fight is pretty much finished, and Bob Wren just drops his stick and his gloves and just starts pummeling the poor bloke. And to be fair, the other bloke never drops his gloves. So in a lot of respects, although he's swinging, you could say that he's hard done to, but he got chucked out for fighting because he never dropped his gloves. It could very well have come back to bite us, but we battled hard, and
I think that actually calmed Riga down, because I think they were actually quite frightened to go near us after that.
There was a few bits with Henley that were and to be fair, a lot of the players, Boxhill and Norton were having words with players, but there was one bit that really stood out for me was when I can't quite remember what the penalty was for, but Riga took it. Might have been their first penalty of the game. And Henley actually skated over to the player as he was skating to the penalty box and made a point of looking behind him to check what number shirt he was and having a word with him as he skated off, and just followed him to the penalty box. It's things like that. I mean, that's great enforcing play by a player. He
gets in their head.
Absolutely. I mean, I heard a comment that someone had said that the referee had told the Panthers, "Oh, come on, they're juniors. Let's not quote." But they're here to play hockey. They're all playing
it's a senior
hockey.
Tournament.
They all know the rules. They all know the games. And special mention goes to Lee Salters, because he absolutely bossed it.
Oh, the hits he was throwing last night.
There was a lot of talk before the weekend about that we've got a lot of players who've got that European experience, and he wasn't one of them. Yeah. But I thought he sussed the referees quickly that basically you don't. Looking at the teams we had there, they weren't checking. They were just pushing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He was checking.
He was checking, but he was pushing, and he was pushing hard. They pushed him, he pushed him back harder on the ice. Especially
last night, I thought the ref seemed to let anything go so long as it was head-to-head. If you were skating towards a player, you could pretty much do whatever you wanted, it seemed. He was very sort of borderline with ones where it was coming in from sort of the shoulder area or any sort of a board play from behind, that type of thing. He was quite sharp to call, but because a couple of times Salters absolutely levelled players along the boards as they were coming up the wing, but it was all head to head, and I nearly got a crick neck, because every time he threw a hit, my immediate reaction was just to find where the referee is and see if he's got that arm up. But
I thought that late in the game when they were on the power play, and the netminder. I just saw the netminder and I thought, well, we're done now.
Absolutely, yeah.
I
thought it was ever so bizarre that they pulled their netminder with 6 minutes to go while we're on the power play, and then they had a face-off in our zone with 1 minute and 30 seconds to go, and they never pulled it. It just seemed bizarre. Yeah. I mean, fair play for them for going so early and thinking, well, we've got nothing to lose here. Yeah. We're on a power play. Let's make it even harder for them. But I just thought, tactically, at the end, I just thought that was really a strange decision not to do it again.
Yeah. A game that was that good did sort of fizzle out, especially when we went 3-1.
Yeah.
It sort of
I think we closed it down. We closed it down, and that was what we needed to do.
You're expecting them to pull the keeper. You're expecting the big finish.
I think, in all honesty, they resigned to the fact that they just couldn't figure us out. They couldn't work out a way to beat a stellar netminder. A shortened bench with players chucked out and losing Henley through injury, but everyone was just playing so well as a team. Every time we defended, the effort in the back check was really there to see, and even when we were attacking, we were using our brains. We weren't jumping in for 50-50 pucks. The defence were pulling out of 50-50s a lot more, especially in the third period. And to be fair, like you say, Chris Murray was absolutely immense on Sunday.
Okay, well,
I think across the whole weekend as well. I just want to say, I thought Francis was
absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, both of them.
Well, funnily enough, Elite League magazine on Twitter, that EIHL magazine, tweets a team of the week every week. I actually got in touch with them today and just gave my the Continental Cup team of the week for Panthers, because obviously they weren't included because they've not been playing in the Elite League this year. And obviously Kowalski in goal because he was superb. I put Anderson and Chris Murray in defence because I think, especially the second and third period yesterday, I don't think Anderson put a foot wrong.
No, not at all.
And Chris Murray was immense all weekend. I mean, he's really stepped up to the mark, playing the Werner role, especially on the power play. And then the forwards picked themselves: Lee Salters, Matt Francis and David Clark.
Yeah.
And Clark, he got, I think, 3 goals or 4 goals all weekend.
I think
Matt Francis was 4+4.
8 points.
Yeah.
Across the 3 games.
Salters, I think, got 2 or 3 goals.
Got 2 or 3 goals. And
the whole line picks itself, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, of course, as many people were there. We was in here last night. We talked to a couple of Andy's Panthers Hockey Live colleagues to get their reaction, and also a few more fans besides.
What a weekend. Frustrating officiating, but tonight, what a game. Wow. Sorry, my voice is going. Was that Rob?
No, it was a good advertisement for British hockey, what we can do over here. It was disappointing about the officiating, that it was European style officiating, not much physical play could go, but definitely tonight we showed what we can do physically. We can intimidate teams and we can be there with the best of them in Europe.
What did you think in the first period when it all sort of kicked off a little bit, didn't it really? Do you think that put us off our game a bit, or do you think that actually galvanises?
I think that helped us quite a bit. I think it was disappointing that obviously you get a 5+ game, you're out the game, the 2 guys that fought. But it means as well the Latvians are going to be intimidated by what we can do. They know we're not going to take anything. The little shots after the whistle, the little sticks, it's not going to happen. And when you got guys like Salters who was throwing the body all night, it was disappointing to lose Henley as well because he was doing that as well. Disappointing to lose them in the game, but it just really intimidated them. I think they're the reason we won.
And what about the other teams? I mean, the Spanish, I think a lot of people underestimated them. They were nowhere near as bad, I think, as people expected, and actually gave a very, very good account of themselves.
I think they've made a lot of friends this weekend. And even the Dutch, I was quite liking the way the Dutch played. They finished the hits, little niggles after the whistle and what have you to try and get it all started. But yeah, I mean, you can't fault. I mean, especially the Spanish, they turned up short notice and what have you, and to put performances like they've done, I mean, credit to him. And I hope it's not the last we've seen of either any of these teams. To be fair, I'd love to see him back here for pre-season or something like that.
Last question: you going to Italy?
Hope so. Try and get time off work.
If I can get the time off work.
Good weekend, enjoyed it, amazing hockey, glad we won, can't wait, but I can't go to Italy, so boo-hoo. But yeah, really enjoyable. Don't like the Elite League, their rules though, horrible. It's fighting, not roughing, fighting, end of.
Tonight was definitely the best game by a long way. Quite nervous about tonight's game, thinking European hockey going to be quite dull, but lots of skill. Not at all, great game. Tough competition. Everybody thought 3 teams might be a walkover, none of them were a walkover really. And I think we stand a good chance now in Asiago. Definitely. Don't see why not.
It's been a great weekend, some great hockey, officiating dodgy. I think Panthers played really well tonight. They put a lot of effort in, they worked hard. Nothing to be ashamed of if we hadn't got through, but Italy, here we come. Flights booked, hotel booked, car hire in the process. Let's go to Italy!
Superb. The Panther fans who didn't come have missed an absolute treat. It's been fast, furious. The refereeing was mildly iffy occasionally, but it's European. I'm not sure Riga were quite ready for us, to be honest. I think when Henley and Salters got going, they started ducking. I think that was the difference. Sad to lose Henley for a knee by the look of it, but fantastic. Bring on Italy. That's all I can say. What more can you say? Bring on Italy.
Best value for money ever, mate. Absolutely phenomenal. Truly breathtaking. The final was absolutely phenomenal, mate. I've never seen hockey like it, mate. In 20 odd years of watching the game, mate. Absolutely brilliant. Really, really good. Thoroughly enjoyed it, mate. Even if we'd have lost tonight, I'd have got no qualms about our performance. You know, the players laid it all on the line. Fantastic. Really was good. Fantastic.
So we're going to look at a few of the other games that took place in the Elite League last week. Obviously, we saw none of them. We probably saw a few assorted highlights on the web over the weekend. Start off on Saturday, Fife v Steelers. 5-1 Steelers 4. Fife scoring problems still continuing.
I think we called that, didn't we, last week?
Yeah.
Surprise, and Sirianni continues.
Yeah, a couple of goals for Sirianni. I think it was probably an expected result for Steelers to win that game. However, you know, Fife.
Well, we technically struggled up there.
We did. We certainly did.
Yeah.
And you know, I think we got a couple of tweets from Fife fans earlier today, basically bemoaning that their lack of scoring at the minute. So our old mate Random Pesh. Flyers need confidence, plenty of chances being created, and then can we play capitals every week? No, no, unfortunately you can't. So they are struggling to put the puck in the net. Of course, Devils played 3 games throughout the week. Thursday night they were at home to the Giants, and then they had a home and home series against the Blaze in the Challenge Cup. Our reporter Sean Phillips tells us more.
So a slightly longer segment from me today, because obviously we've played 3 games this week and I've attended all 3, so let's get started. Thursday's game against the Belfast Giants, lost 2-1. Better scoreline than I expected going into it. Not a lot of improvement from the Devils. I think the Giants made us look better. They weren't that great. Obviously the incident with Andrew Conboy and Adam Keefe, I'm not going to talk about that because I haven't seen the replay, so I will not pass a judgment on that. But again, good 2 points for the Giants. Played a good road game and they thoroughly deserved the win, and we just didn't play very well at all. I spoke to Paul Reagan, unfortunately, just afterwards, and he asked me what I thought, and I didn't answer him, and he said better, and I sort of bit better because the result was better than I expected. So I was pleased in that way. So, but that was the Belfast game. Yesterday I made the journey up to Coventry, which with Red Army travel, which was great. It was a great trip. Very, very loud from the Devils fans right from the get go. A lot of banter aimed at Mike Zacharias and obviously the Blaze Arena for being so quiet. But it was a decent game. The first period, Coventry didn't turn up. Zacharias was quite poor in that first period, and we scored a lot of goals. Matt Myers scored a brilliant goal, which we've had a good weekend from Matt Myers. He's back to his tenacious self that you guys know in Nottingham that we haven't seen yet. So that was good. Ben Davis scored a beautiful goal, and everybody contributed. Chris Blight was also hitting the target, which was another good sign, and it was a lot of improvement from the team. We did play well, and although Dan Lacoste didn't have a lot to do in the first period, in the second and third period he really stood tall, and we did take our foot off the gas a little bit, but obviously that's because we played on Sunday night. But Saturday, great game from the Devils, and Coventry, as I said, were quite poor. But anyway, so on to Sunday. Obviously tonight we won 4-0 tonight. Dan Lacoste's first shutout. Again, didn't have a lot to do, but everything that he did have to he put it in the corners. Great goalie, worked really hard. Didn't deserve the man of the match. I don't think anybody deserved the man of the match for the Devils tonight because we really were a great unit. Piggott had a great game. Chris Jones looked like he was dying to score, which you always want to see from a young player. And Coventry weren't a lot worse. They weren't worse actually. They did play a lot better than on Saturday, but they couldn't get firing. Jonan scored a beautiful hat trick on Saturday, which gave them a chance to win, but he couldn't quite turn it on tonight. And Zacharias probably kept the game quite close. I think 4-0 was a very, very flattering scoreline for Coventry because Zacharias was fantastic tonight. But yeah, overall, a lot of improvement over the weekend. We played very well despite being a few men down. Obviously with Phil Hill leaving, Jared Adams moving to the bench, And who else? And Conboy obviously missing this weekend, out injured. But all in all, a good weekend. 4 great Challenge Cup points, 2 great games for Zelda fans to watch, and a massive, massive improvement. So well done, guys. And congratulations to the Panthers on qualifying for the next round of the Continental Cup. And all the best to you guys, because it's really good for our sport. And so, yeah, back to you guys. Sorry for the very, very long segment today, but 3 games, duty calls. But, enjoy the rest of the show.
So, thoughts of Sean there. He doesn't say anything. He says he'll leave the Keith ban, or the Keith incident in the Devils-Giants game to us.
There can't be any surprise, really, can there?
I don't think this is a surprise. I think there's a lot of Cardiff fans who are really complaining about the fact that, oh, it was a check to the head. I saw the video that was taken on the night, and I'm sorry, I really don't think it's a check to the head. Blindside, absolutely cheap, absolutely worth a 4-game ban. I don't think there's any question of that, but it's not a check to the head.
Yeah, it's one of them where it comes in from a really poor angle. I thought he'd get 6 purely because of the fact that it was supposed to be an automatic 3 because of what was originally called, and the way his arm came up when he followed through on the hit. I thought that was going to be a case because it's almost like he's at least trying to target the head of anything. All in all, I think 4. That's what he got. Was it 4 games?
He got 4 games.
Yeah, I think all in all, I think that's probably about fair. Obviously, it's another game he's got himself banned before he plays for Panthers.
I'm scared. That's what it is.
It certainly seems to be.
Well, looking at the other 2 games, and big step change. Devils winning both games and winning both games well. And Blaze, after a really, really good start to the season, just seem to be in free fall at the moment.
Yeah, I mean,
don't say that when we're playing them on
Well,
Saturday.
but they are. You know, I mean, the results speak for themselves. You know,
I think
as
much as I think that will come good at some point, it's going to be a test in time for Soderstrom in his first real season of doing it. You know, he's got big boots to fill with Tomo gone. Yes, they might have underperformed the past 3 or 4 years, but I think they'll come good. They've got some good players on that team, and they'll battle hard. I know they've got a couple of injuries as well at the moment, I think.
Yeah. Okay, Clan against Caps went to overtime and penalties at Brayhead Arena, so a very, very valuable point for the Capitals on Saturday night.
You don't know if that's going to be encouraging for them or demoralising again, to be so close and yet so far. But a point, you know,
and I guess
they'll take anything right now.
They seem to be sort of getting close to the front, instead of like big sort of 4 or 5 goal margins. It's coming down to sort of the 1 goal margins, and they're snatching points here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the unfortunate thing with whether it's unfortunate or not, the thing with Edinburgh is, you know, they always start late. They don't get all their players in. They're still not got as many imports as everybody else in the league. It's always going to be an uphill struggle for them. So any point they can get here or there, especially away from home, if they can pick up points away from home, and then they can look to utilise, you know, the Murrayfield as best they can. And if they start winning games at home and picking up the odd points away from home, they could have a decent season in that conference.
Yeah, absolutely. Final game on Saturday, it was Hull against Stars. Sam Balm, our Hull correspondent, tells us more.
The game between Hull and Dundee was not an overly impressive one. The teams are fairly evenly matched, and ultimately took Dundee on penalty shots to win it. None of they should have counted though, because Bacall didn't leave the ice, which he should have done, which it says in the rule book. I think Darnell called some pretty soft penalties, like one slashy where it was just stick on stick. But all in all, fairly evenly matched teams, and Hull deserved at least a point from it.
So a good point for Hull there against the Stars, who are still hanging in there. So, but 2 valuable points for them. But they're grabbing the results.
But and it's what we were talking about Hull before. They're always that goal short. And I think, you know, like Scooby was saying on here last week, you know, not having Campbell, it's going to kill him.
As good as players like Tendler and Silverthorne are, I completely agree. There is, from what I've seen, to be fair, probably over the past couple of seasons. Obviously, I don't follow them intensely as the Hull fans who probably know better than I do, but it always seems that if they're not scoring, nobody else is. So that's always going to be where the issue lies with them.
We're looking very hard at those two players.
But Stars with another couple of wins. Obviously, League on Saturday night, Challenge Cup win against the Clan 2-1 on Sunday night. They just keep digging these wins out. And Alistair Neil, Stars fans, tweeted us. He says, Stars not playing well, but finding ways to win. That's what good teams do, and he's absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we did last year. And to be fair, it's what we've done at the start of this year. For a lot of games, we've only really the past sort of the start of October we've really sort of started to click and that.
Yeah, and I think for me it's really refreshing to see a team like Dundee challenging at the top end of the table. It's a great, refreshing change, frankly. Yes. Moving on. Capitals against Fife again, Caps just that goal short. Fife managed to bang 4 in at Murrayfield. Valuable, very valuable, and much needed 2 points for them.
I think Fife will be disappointed that they scored 4 in Edinburgh and only the 1 at home. But at the end of the day, like I said earlier on with regarding Caps, if teams can pick up points on the road in that conference, they'll be happy, because ultimately I think you would expect, especially against the 4 Scottish teams, maybe not Bray and Dundee might start thinking that they should be picking up points everywhere now. But especially Fife and Caps, they would want to look at their home form as the key to their season. And obviously, if teams can start picking up points away from home in Scotland, they're going to be happy.
Could be very tight between those two in Hull, couldn't it?
Absolutely. And when you look at the fact that 8 go through to the playoffs, there's only 2 that don't go through. You know, realistically, whether it's harsh on them, you're going to be looking at Fife, Edinburgh and Hull as to who's going to be the 2 that get dropped. So it's going to be very tight between those 3. And I do think that away form is going to be the decider there.
Final game on Sunday, Steelers against Giants. Big game. Huge win for the Steelers. I think this is their first 4-point weekend.
Yes, yeah, I think so. I believe Helen tweeted that.
Yeah, well, that like. But I mean, Giants probably masses their own downfall. They had 2 penalty shots in that game. I briefly saw the highlights. I saw both penalty shot incidents, and while they could be called contentious, they were actually, by the letter of the law, absolutely the correct calls.
Right.
So, no arguments there. But our Sheffield correspondent, Scott Antcliffe, will tell us more.
Hi there, back from the Steelers game, 2-1 win over Belfast Giants. Before the start of the game, I wasn't sure which way it was going to go, so obviously pleasantly surprised at the outcome and that we got the 2 points against them. First goal of the game went to the Giants. It was Darryl Lloyd, short-handed. He broke down the left wing after a Steelers error in the Belfast zone, and he just roofed one high past Doyle. Nothing Doyle could do about it. Just a great, well-taken goal from Lloyd. Towards the end of the first period, Steelers tied it up. It was Stephen Meyer. He was the first one to pounce on a loose puck, and he basically just hit one high past Murphy. Second period, what can we say? Event-filled, with Mike Hicks being at the centre of controversy. He awarded 2 penalty shots in favour of the Giants. First one, that was a fair one to award. Second one, I'm not so sure, so check out the replay on that one, folks, and make your mind up. Evenly contested second period, though, and remained scoreless. Going into the third period, fairly even. Steelers got a goal with about 5 minutes remaining. It was Jonathan Phillips, bit of a fortuitous goal, bounced in off his skate. Nothing Murphy could do about it. Kind of felt a bit sorry for him, as he'd played great all night as well, Murphy. They pulled him with about a minute remaining in hope to tie it up, and Steelers hung on and got the 2 points. Very well deserved, great team performance. Hopefully now the first 4-point weekend of the season, we can use that and gather momentum and hopefully get some more wins on the board.
Our hot topic this week was, are British referees unfairly criticised? We put this question on Twitter this afternoon and got loads of replies. It was obviously touched the nerve with a few, and very much a split a split decision, and I think a lot of Panthers fans coming out of this weekend are actually probably got a bit more respect for the homegrown officials.
It's one of them things. No matter what they do, they're always going to be in the wrong with 50% of the fan base. The only thing you can ask for is consistency, and I think the biggest thing that we saw this weekend was, obviously, it's a different style of officiating, it's a different style of play that we're used to. But even through the European refs, and I believe there was 3 there this weekend that each refereed 2 games each, they, from one game to the rest, they were just calling really bizarre things and missing really obvious things, and they certainly weren't better than any other referees, put it that way.
Yeah, you always know that different referees are going to call things in different ways. They're going to interpret it. It was like, Maury Hansen let a lot go until it was too late and still gone out to control.
Unless it was a goalie, and then he was straight in on.
Wow, yeah.
Goalie
and then there's others who were pickier, and that's what oh, who's the ref this week? Right. You don't do this, you don't do this, but you can get away with this. That's good coaching. But what this weekend, and there's at times where you'll see the same incident twice, and it's called in by the same referee in 2 completely different ways. That's what frustrates you for me. But I think in this country, it's all going to come down to money. There is the argument of you can't criticise them because without them there wouldn't be any game. But by the same token, the league has got to put money into improving it. We see the standards improving of players. If the officiating doesn't go with it, then you're going to lose players to it.
But to play devil's advocate for a second, both Tom Darnell and Michael Hicks are regularly officiating in the Danish league, which, in all intents and purposes, is a better quality league than the Elite League. Yet they're deemed good enough to go and referee there. So surely they can't be that bad.
Yeah, but so's Jeff from Calais, isn't he?
Well, looking at some of the tweets that we received, and we received a hell of a lot. Paul Braisby, who is a referee.
I thought that from his avatar,
he says yes, goes all the way through the system, even starting from a young age. Example, refereeing an under-12s game. So John Rogerson, after seeing the European refs, I'd say our refs let much more go, let the game flow, which I think is a fair point. And he says we take ours too much for granted.
At the end of the day, you want the players to decide the outcome, not the officials.
Absolutely.
So there's things that have got to be called, there's things that are going to be called.
Yeah.
But ultimately, so long as the players decide the outcome,
you
can't grumble.
You see too many times where a referee turns up. I mean, and I think Saturday night, I don't want to keep harping on about that, but I think Saturday night was an example of that. He thought we turned up to watch him. He was,
he was very theatrical.
He was very yes, with his gestures, and that probably didn't work at all on camera, did it? But
if Jono did it might.
Yeah.
There we go.
He didn't crash down.
Typical of many tweets we've received, Emily Gretton, I would have probably said no, but after witnessing the European refs this weekend at the NIC, I think they are a tough job. I think that was typical of many tweets that we received.
Yeah. Andy Stevenson,
he said he is a Clan fan, yes.
Much at all, does he?
No, the officials this year have been ruining games with awful decisions, and plenty of them. The Elite League need to give them training. Incompetent officiating. He's obviously. I know that training them properly will cost money, but it costs us fans a lot of money to travel games to see them ruined by.
I think the case in point is the Rab Cowan display for Panthers and Fife,
which was
obviously
shocking.
If you travel all that way to go and watch a game, and it's ruined like that by a refereeing display.
But the thing is, on the other side of the coin, I mean, I was seeing tweets from Sheffield fans yesterday, absolutely, really criticising Michael Hicks about the penalty shot calls and how he was dreadful, he ruined the game, blah, and then you watch the replay and find out, actually, he was right.
That's it. And that, with me saying earlier, you can't watch a game as a neutral. But, when it's your own team, you see things through black and gold tinted glasses, through teal tinted glasses, through orange tinted glasses. You really have to. But but when you watch a game, when you with that disconnection of not supporting one of the teams, the officials don't look as bad.
Yeah, and I think a very pertinent tweet from Gillan Williams, who just says, better paying conditions, to be fair, you get what you pay for.
That's Gillian.
Is it Gillian?
Yeah.
Sorry, Gillian, that's my fault. It's like, rubber puck. I'll try my best not to criticise Hicks ever again after those games I saw at the weekend. Mike Hicks, all is forgiven.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, he's not going to last that, is it? Mark Cooper with a good one. Yes, because they aren't ready to step up to the mark. They need more experiences at 12s, 14s, and 16s, and I think that's a fair point.
Yeah, I'd agree. The only issue is, do we know how much experience people like Hicks and Darnell have had at 12s, 14s, 16s?
Well, I know from speaking to Tom Darnell before, I think he started officiating in something like 2002.
Right.
So he's got a good 10, 11 years experience behind him.
So obviously he was a linesman for a long time.
Yeah.
But obviously I don't know if he was officiating as a referee at other levels. Obviously he made the step up in Elite League, and after he'd been linesman for so long. But we don't know. I think he actually started at the EPL level when the BNL was still around. Yeah.
So yes.
I mean that was one of my concerns when they went to the 4 official system. Where was that
coming from?
What was that 4th official? We're sitting here saying they're not good enough, and yet we're bringing people up who aren't currently officiating at this level. As the pool wasn't and still isn't big enough to do that.
No. And it never will be until money's put forward into it.
Yeah.
Okay. So final conclusion then. Are they unfairly criticised? No.
Between 7 o'clock and about 9:30 on a Saturday night, no. The rest of the time, probably.
Yeah. We'll leave it there.
And I'm sure it's a topic we will come back to several times this season.
Yeah.
So we're going to look ahead to the games coming up at the weekend. Big one on Friday. Giants against the Panthers. That is a big marker.
Yeah, absolutely. I think going on our form, we should be pretty confident, and I think we'll certainly be going there for all the points.
Do you think it depends a little on how bad the Henley injury might be, whether he plays or not? Because I must admit I'd be quite worried going there with 2 import defencemen, and that's no slight against the defence. It's just that little bit of a lack of depth against a team that scores a lot of goals like Belfast.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think obviously, especially now they've got Peacock back as well. There's another one that keeps putting goals in. Henley's going to be a big loss for us. However long he's out, even if it's for one game, he's going to be a huge loss. I noticed on Saturday he played literally every minute of short-handed penalty kill, unless it was him in the box, obviously. Including the full 2 minutes on a 5-on-3. Yeah. He's going to be a huge loss for us, because although they're not going to have Keith because he's suspended, and you sort of say, he's a fighter. He's so much more than that, because he's positionally sound, and just the way
he uses his size so well, with his reach and everything.
And he can play that role that Salters played so well for us at the weekend.
And also, if you just watch him, especially after whistles, if you look at him communicating with our team, the way he talks to players, the way he tells them what they need to do, his experience and stuff, that's going to be hugely missed for however long it is.
Of course, that game will be covered on Giants Live TV. It's £8. Of course, they've got a new commentary team this year, which includes Aaron Murphy from ESPN. So
it's pretty stellar.
So yes, I'm very much looking forward to that on Friday night, and we will of course report on that one next week.
You're not filming us watching it again?
No, not this time. No, we're going to have a beer this time. On Saturday.
You didn't last time. You didn't last time.
No, we are going to have a beer. Fred, we're on camera. Kids watch this.
That was Diet Coke.
I'm on water.
this
Anyway,
week.
Caps against Hull on Saturday. Is this the Caps' chance to get that valuable win?
Well, I mean, they're playing them again on the Sunday, so it could be that they'll be going out to do it, and they'll be looking at Hull as one of the teams that they could, this is one of our better chances.
Yeah, I suppose it works both ways though, doesn't it? For either team, each team is going to be targeting 4 points from next weekend.
I personally think they'll split the weekend. But I do think that you might see an overtime in there. So I think both teams will be looking for the 4 points, and I think that means that it's going to be very tight. And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw the team split the weekend, but one team coming out with the extra point.
Clan versus Giants in the Challenge Cup on Saturday night. Clan at home. Giants coming off what I would expect to be a tough game on Friday night. I think that could be a close one.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Braid have had a slightly troubled start to the season, but they seem to be finding form at the moment.
I think a lot of that had to do with that they spent so long on the road. After an initial game at home, they then have 5 weeks away, and I think now they're playing regular home games again. That's only going to help them.
And with those fans behind them, that's it's going to be a huge bonus to them.
I think it's only one of them games. I think both teams again, like the Caps Hull game, both teams will be looking for the 2 points out of the game. You're not going to get a team thinking, well, we'll park the bus and we'll try and play out as long as we can, maybe pinch them on the break. Both teams will be there to play hockey, so I think it got the potential to be a really good game.
And to round out Saturday, Steelers against Fife at Sheffield. Home win, I think.
Yeah, I can't see anything but a home win.
Sorry, Fife, but I just think Steelers.
Prove us wrong.
It'd be nice if you did, but
please.
I won't be putting any money on an away win on that one, sadly. Moving on to Sunday, and then it's Blaze against Steelers. Blaze playing Panthers on Saturday night, so that all depends on that game.
Yeah, the Skydome's never an easy place to go. The fans get behind them, and we've had success there for a little while now, but they're still good games regardless of sort of the score. I mean, we blew them away in that 8-0
I mean,
game.
we talk about the way those fights got the crowd going on Sunday nights. Something similar like that in the Skydome. Amplifies the effects as well. Because they're leaning in, they're vocal at the best of times, especially those who are around the away bench. Bless them.
As we know.
And that could really help them if they can come out quickly, take it to Sheffield, get some momentum going, get the crowd with them. It's a different place.
I realised I missed off Panthers Blaze on.
I thought you were just coming back to that as a big finish.
I'm coming back to it now. So Panthers against Blaze. Blaze have a pretty appalling record lately at the NIC. No, but I say they do have an appalling record recently at the NIC. That is fact. They do. Their fans say that they do. Can you see them getting anything out of that game on Saturday? I suppose again a lot depends on Friday night.
I can see them getting something out of it. As a Panthers fan, and like I say, looking at the way we've been playing recently, no, I don't think they can. But you've got to look at the league that we've got. We've seen surprises thrown up everywhere, and sometimes they're not surprises.
It has been a lot closer this season.
Yeah, absolutely.
3 games this weekend just gone. We're playing the Friday night in Belfast, so there's all that travelling.
Yeah,
throws you out.
It's like, does fatigue become a factor? I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Sunday, Devils against Fife. So this is going to be Devils' only game of the weekend, upturning form. So they'll probably have a lot more confidence going into this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think it works out quite well for Fife that they've got 2 away games. I'd like to think that they stay over in Sheffield or travel down to Wales as opposed to going home. Because that'd be a nightmare journey both ways, Cardiff going up to Fife and whatnot. But I think Devils will probably do it because of the form that they've got at the moment. But the rink's not too dissimilar to Fife, so it's going to suit their style of play as much as it suits Cardiff's. I can see a potentially really good game down there.
And then finally on Sunday, what I think has potential to probably could be the game of the weekend, which is Dundee Stars against the Brea Clan. Clan doing okay. Stars still keeping in touch.
Yeah.
You know, that could be a belter of a game.
Absolutely, I think Stars' home form has been absolutely stellar. So if you go on the form books and the previous results, you'd say home win, but you know it's not it's what, an hour's travel, and they're going to be they're rivals because they're up there and they've been playing them so much recently because of the way the conference is split. It's going to be a tough game.
If Clan get a good result on Saturday night,
oh, absolutely, yeah.
that could buoy them up.
Or to be fair, even if they have a disastrous result on the Saturday night,
they've got
they're going to have. I think Clan have got a really good chance there of finally dethroning the pesky Stars.
And on that bombshell, I think we'll leave it there for this week. Andy, thanks very much for coming and standing in.
Anytime.
Absolute pleasure to have you on, Paul.
Coming for you, Aaron. I'm coming for you.
He's not. Thanks.
I'm worried.
Yeah. Thanks for turning up as usual.
Eventually,
yeah. That's up.
Breaking the sound.
Not breaking the sound. Yeah.
Still work. We think it
still works. We haven't edited it yet. Find out later on. Anyway, thanks ever so much for joining us as always, and we will see you next week.